Welcome into a brand new Jock Market Power Hour for this week's Houston Open. I'm Rick Gamer, that right there, Joe Idoni. Joe, happy Wednesday to you.
Happy Wednesday to you as well, man. Houston Open, excited for this event. We had a fun one last week. We've got another one this week, and we're starting to sort of wrap up this fall swing to get into next year.
Are you staying? What's the hurricane situation you've got going on right now?
I'm hunkered down. I'm
Okay.
hunkered down for Power Hour big time. No, this thing it's actually like headed right toward me here in West Palm Beach, Florida. Luckily, tropical storm category 1. It's nothing. I've been down here for 10 years now, so year 1 or 2 I'd be sweating this big time, putting the shutters up. Now it's just it's to be expected.
All right. Well, we're thinking of you. Stay safe, and we'll get through this power hour here together. So if you're just tuning in, stumbling in here, trying to figure out what's going on, we're playing stock market DFS. This has evolved so much over the course of the last couple of years since we've started doing this, and since Jock Market launched in the summer of 2020. Joe, I mean, there are now not only multiple week markets as opposed to these single game or single slate markets. I thought I just saw that there's an entire second half of the NFL market. Did I see that?
I've got to pull that up. I haven't seen that one exactly yet, but I know that they've just been continuing to do new strategies. They've got a new reward system in place. Of course, the promo code that you got scrolling there on the bottom, Power, will get you a $100 deposit bonus if you haven't tried it out yet. But it's a market you can feel safe about getting some returns right now as the volatility strikes the rest of the world. It's a safe place to put your money, I think, when you're with us here.
Yeah, definitely better than some of the returns I've seen in my portfolio. But what we're doing tonight is the IPO for the Houston Open. So around 9 p.m. Eastern time tonight, that IPO is going to close. Bidding is open right now. If you're one of the high bidders, when IPO closes, you're going to get those shares of golfers in your portfolio. But that's just the beginning, really, because you can live trade throughout. Even here in the IPO phase, you can start shorting golfers. And then depending on other things that you do across other sports, which is what I have up on the screen right now, if you're watching on YouTube, you're able to accumulate points via these challenges that you can complete. So, for example, if you live trade at least $25 3 separate days this week, that's worth 2 points. There are different challenges that are worth more or less points. And then you've not only have the weekly prizes, Joe, but now there are cumulative prizes. So just another way to evolve this, get people interested, get people in the market. And really, there's probably not another site out there that rewards not only new users, which everybody does that, but the current existing user base is generally underserviced, not in Jock Market.
Yeah, well taken care of. And you just look at like the way that a lot of these markets are running, which is at a positive. If you're able to be creative and you're able to be selective in your process in terms of adding shares of players or even shorting players that you think may be overvalued, we've seen a ton of people. I know you get messages all the time from people that turn that initial $100 deposit bonus now are playing for a couple of grand a week. So it's a market that accepts all bankrolls, all types of players, and we'll kind of take you through the IPO over the next 35 or 40 minutes here.
And if you're not in a state where this is available yet, you can still do the free markets and win real dollars, right? Or maybe you're just not ready to jump into the cash markets just yet. The code you're looking for is POWER. There's a link in the description that'll get you your $100 deposit bonus. And then you can start earning your rewards and continue to build your worth. So here's last week, Joe. Let me get some of this stuff out of the way here. Russell Henley IPO'd last Wednesday at $6.12 a share. Winner, chicken dinner, $25 a share for Russell Henley. So $18 of profit per share. Brian Harman checked in with $20 per share payout. Even Scotty Scheffler, who was the most expensive golfer in the market last week, returns you a pretty big profit, $7.50 a share. So some pretty good returns at the top of the board.
Yeah, pretty good returns. Once again, we see like the Jock Market's a profitable place for the number one pre-reg player. Once again, Scotty Scheffler, even though he didn't get that win, nearly doubled your money on the per share amount that you paid. You see the rest of those guys, sort of Henley was obviously the big pop. It was nice to see him kind of close the door and cruise to a victory, which he had been out to a lead many times on Saturday before. So it's nice to see him finally kind of get that done, and some things kind of go right with the putter for Scotty. I think he switched back to the old stick. Low round of the day on Sunday, back in the field again this week as the number one pre-ranked player, which we'll get to in a minute. But an exciting tournament as always there in Mycova.
Yeah, even Victor, who was $10.25.
Right.
It wasn't much, but it was a profit, 75 cents a share. So the two most expensive golfers last week turned you a profit. They were the number one and number two pre-ranked golfers. We'll talk about why that's important in just a second. But you mentioned it, Joe. It's Houston. We're getting a couple of guys who played last week, and Scotty Scheffler and Tony Finau and Aaron Wise, and we're headed towards kind of the end of the PGA Tour fall portion of the schedule before we take a couple of weeks off and go full-fledged into the Tournament of Champions. But this is a really interesting little spot to dump your cash into the market, see what comes out the other side, because we've got some top-end players here.
Yeah, we I believe 4 in the top 20 OWGR. It's a fun tournament. I really enjoy this course. It's going to challenge the players. If anything of the last 2 years has been indicative. So fun setup, good field, wrapping up the fall here. A lot of players with a lot to play for.
So what we want to do now is play a game called Bullish or Bearish, where we take a stance on 4 different golfers. And you're going to hear us use a little bit of different terminology. We're going to say things like what's their fair value, which is essentially the price that we think they should be, or it's actually what Jock Market thinks they should be, Joe. That's a calculation based on expected value. Scotty Scheffler is going to win the golf tournament X amount of time. That pays out $25 a share. He's going to finish 10th. Y amount of time that pays out whatever, right? And then you put it all together and you get what the fair value of a golfer should be. And then associated with that fair value is the finishing position that they need. So for example, $7.44 in a fair value. That's the first one I looked at for Alex Noren. That's 20th place or better. So if you buy shares of Alex Noren at 744, he finishes better than 20th. You make money, he finishes worth, you lose money.
Yep, exactly. So it's nothing more than a projection. Once this event kicks off live, all players are treated equally in terms of finishing position. But what it really does is establishes that pre-rank, which we talk about often. So the highest fair value projection this week is Scotty Scheffler. He's the number one pre-ranked player. In the event that he finishes in a 4-way tie for second place, the highest ranked pre-rank player will get that $20 per share payout. And, the one who's the lowest ranked of those 4 finishing second will get 15. So it can ultimately make a big difference and something that you really need to pay attention to, I think, when you're bidding shares. If someone has one of those high pre-ranks, maybe even something you feel like is inflated more than it should be, it does make them more of a valuable prospect and a target for you.
All right, well, let's jump right into this. And our first golfer is a guy who refuses to finish outside the top 15. It's Taylor Montgomery. His fair value tonight is $7.64 a share. That's asking him to finish 19th or better, Joe. Are you bullish or bearish on Taylor Montgomery?
Look, I'm not going to overthink this one. I'm going to continue to go bullish. He's shown the ability to finish. It basically has to finish in the top 20 to pay that off. He's done it in pretty much every start this season. 3rd, 9th, 15th, 13th, 10th in his 5 starts this fall. He's been playing a lot. He's got a lot of reps under his belt. The confidence continues to go up. He was fantastic sort of to end that Korn Ferry Tour season. He's done it a lot with the putter, which was somewhat unexpected for me, as I just didn't profile him as that type of player. But from what we've seen, that is definitively a strength of his game, and I don't expect it to go away anytime soon. I think it's another good course setup for him. I expect him to finish top 20 once again. He hasn't given me any reason to be bearish.
I agree, bullish, and I fully expect him to stop putting this well, because if he putts this well forever, he'd be the greatest putter in the world by a massive margin. However, this is it's clearly not just the putter, because these great results go back to, as you mentioned, it's like 12 months. He's been awesome.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, this is a course that rewards putters. So if it does come down to putting, and if we are going to say, okay, well, I can't penalize the guy for being a great putter on a golf course that should be rewarding it. So at least one more week bullish on Taylor Montgomery.
Yeah, look, we don't expect him to gain 4.5 strokes putting every event, but I think as we start to get a full season under the belt, we're going to see that, yeah, he's probably one of those guys that you can expect like 0.8 to 1.5 strokes putting and be pretty predictive. And that's going to happen just about every event because that's his strength. That's what he's really good at. And that's where that he sort of can separate himself from a lot of other players in the field.
Next up, Tony Finau, a lot more expensive, $11.27 per share is his fair value. That's ninth or better, basically 9.5, but we'll call it ninth or better, Joe, for Tony Finau, bullish or bearish?
I think I got to say bearish at that price point that they've given him in terms of fair value, which is high. It's one of the higher prices that we've ever seen for, a number 2 pre-ranked player, $11.28. Like you mentioned, he's going to have to finish ninth or better to pay that off. He's great. I actually bet him this week. I think that he's a little bit undervalued in the betting market. I think that his fair value projection here would be a little bit overvalued on the flip side. Missed the cut at Mayakoba was I would say somewhat positive, but not, overwhelmingly great at the President's Cup either. He finished last season on quite a tear. I think it's a good golf course fit for him. But that price point, for instance, like just as a point of reference, his top 10 number this week, the best price that you're going to find on a Tony Finau top 10 is plus 190. So he's almost 2-1 to finish top 10 in the betting market. This is basically asking for that same market, a break-even point. Therefore, I'm going to kind of trust the books and say bearish.
I love Tony Finau this week. I love him as a bounce back. I saw him take 4 penalty strokes last week and miss the cut on the number, knocking off the rust, playing for the first time since the President's Cup. Like, I'm so high on Tony Finau, but you nail, like, this is a huge price. It's a huge price. I mean, that's the difference here, right? We're playing a different style of game. This is not an outright wager. I'm not playing him in my fantasy lineups. There's a price for everybody, and maybe Finau doesn't get there. Maybe he doesn't get to $11.27, and I can buy him at $9 a share. We're going to find out in the next 30 minutes, but we're playing the game right now at $11.27, and it's a huge ask. So I think for me, it's just keep an eye on Tony Finau, set the price that I'm willing to go to, and just respect my own price.
Yep, agree.
Next up, a couple of cheaper options. Andrew Putnam is next, and we have got him at $6.34 for fair value. That's 26th or better. Bullish or bearish on Andrew Putnam?
He's kind of right on that like verge, Rick, for me in terms of I could kind of go either way. I'm interested in your kind of take on it, but it's hard to deny the amount of positive finishes that he's had this fall. Zozo finished second. That's obviously the highlight. Top 12 at the Shriners. So some good runs in there. Sanderson Farms, CJ Cup, obviously at Mayakoba as well. So some good finishes for him. I'm probably iffy. I'm in between. Sell me on one way or the other.
I'm bullish. Yeah, I think so. I think when you start like looking at golf courses for Andrew Putnam, this has got to lend itself to one of the better golf courses for him. He is not very long off the tee. That's going to be the only knock against him. He is quite accurate, and we've had some boots on the ground this week or the last day or two, and it's like that rough's like a little bit like just weirder, a little bit fluffier, a little bit like not like you want to be in it than we would expect. And then after that, Andrew Putnam has been phenomenal. The short game is stout. There's going to be a lot of opportunity to separate yourself on and around the greens at Memorial Park. And I just think he's on a great, last missed cut was Barracuda. That was July, right? So we're on a good stretch of golf for Andrew Putnam right now. So I'll buy. I'm bullish.
Okay.
Finally is Sahith Theegala. Again, very similar to Andrew Putnam. We've got a $6.50 fair value. That's 25th or better. Bullish or bearish on Sahith?
Another one I'm kind of close on. I'll say bullish. I like his upside in general. I think that he's going to get a victory this season. I think that we've seen those peak performances, even though he hasn't quite broken the door down. 5th at the Zozo, 6th at the Fortinet. 15th at the BMW. It's like 5 of his last 7 starts have been inside the top 28 or better. I realize the Tour Championship is a bit skewed there, but some good finishes for him. Needs to finish basically top 25 in order to pay that off. I like the upside this week. I'll say a bullish.
With that upside comes that downside, which is
Yeah.
kind of fair. That's the trade-off with Sahith, and I will take the bear side of things. You know, this is a golf course that I think can get away from him pretty quickly, especially if he's not driving it in the fairway. If he plays out of the fairway, watch out, right? Because then I think he's going to have a great week, but I'm not super confident that he's going to be able to do that. So I'll take the bear side. I'll also do this. Brett, very, very quickly, wants to know, I'm assuming this is Keith Mitchell, bullish or bearish on Keith Mitchell?
What's the price on Keith? What's the break even?
Yeah, I guess we should have that. I've got him at 549, 31st or better.
I do. You know what? I kind of do like Keith Mitchell. If we're going to go with like this is an event that kind of rewards some of that off the tee game, obviously back on Bermuda grass greens, he has the distance off the tee. I realize he's been quite up and down, as you sort of alluded to on the struggle bus, but I think getting back on Bermuda could be a decent get right spot for him.
I'm like, I like it more than I hate it, right? Like a 6 out of 10.
Same.
I think that we've seen, especially in the, like, you're going to have a really good short game this week, but he has shown that. I mean, he gained 5.5 at the Scottish Open. He gained 7.5 at the Travelers. Like he can do that. And, he's such a good driver of the golf ball. I see a path for him getting towards the top of the board. He doesn't have to get too high, Joe. He just get on like the first 2 pages, and that'll get him into kind of the position that you need to be able to return yourself a profit here.
Yeah, and what we've seen a lot of times, Rick, is like a guy is a little bit on that struggle bus, and where the sports betting market and some other markets may be a little bit more resilient in terms of understanding the long-term value of him. Jock market is all dependent on public sentiment. So if the sentiment is that he's on the struggle bus, it often makes a time where he could be a potential buy low spot for a player like that, where you could get a little extra value and save a buck.
We're about 27 minutes away from this IPO closing, right before 9 p.m. Eastern time tonight. The code you're looking for to get involved, it's POWER. There's a link in the description, gets you your $100 deposit bonus. And now I believe it is time to unveil the big board, the current live pricing here, Joe. No surprise. 1 and 2 are Scotty Scheffler and Sam Burns. Aaron Wise has put himself in the mix as well. But here's Scotty, 701. He's got the highest fair value. He's got the #1 pre-rank. He's coming off that weekend that you mentioned in Mayakoba. We are just looking down the barrel of Scotty Scheffler being the runaway most expensive golfer, correct?
Yes. And was it T2 here last year at this event as well?
It was, yes, T2.
Yeah. Second place finish here last year. Back in Texas, glimpses of form. We saw the highs. We saw it come down a little bit back to earth after a 4-win season. And now it seems like he's gotten things a little bit corrected. So low round of the day, you know, there were glimpses, obviously, at the CJ Cup, if he didn't lose almost 5 strokes putting, that things were coming around. I actually do think he's a really good short game player, even though those numbers at the CJ Cup were also pretty bad. I think it's one of the strengths of his game is his hands and being able to get up and down from tough spots around the green. I think the scoring conditions being more difficult also plays into his favor. It could be one of those weeks again, Rick, where just the ball spins on red and that's the best player on the field.
I'm like pretty sure he's going to win this. Like again, we'll just get like another 6-1 winner at a golf course that he's played well. This is this horrible slump that he's been in has like 6 podiums in 14 starts. It's just, it's coming. I can just feel it's coming. Whether you want to pay $13 a share for it or not, that's up to you. Sam Burns, you know, his odds in the outright market, basically 2.5x of Scotty's. He's $7 a share. I think this is kind of one of the more interesting stories, you know, not only who's going to be Joe, the second most expensive golfer, but where does Aaron Wise and Sam Burns fall into that? I think it would be easy to get carried away on Sam Burns if people don't want to invest in Scotty Scheffler. I just don't know what the market's going to do here in the next 20 minutes or so.
Yeah. I think he's a great option this week, especially if you can get him like sub $10. I think 2 7th place finishes here. A 7th place is the CJ Cup, which I think Congaree, there are some similarities to it with the Bermuda grass, a longer golf course. It's going to require a more difficult in terms of longer approach shots, less greens in regulation. You got to be able to get up and down. He's a great Bermuda grass putter. Look, I think if we're like, I know Aaron Wise is your boy, but if we're pairing those two, like linking them together, I think Burns is a significantly better player with higher upside than someone like Wise.
I don't even think it's close.
Yeah.
I love Aaron Wise, and these guys are on different plans. I mean, Sam Burns is what, 4 or 5 time winner. Aaron Wise has one, I think, and that was probably 5 years ago. No, I love the way Aaron Wise is going, but like, come on, these guys are not on the same planet. Aaron Wise, though, we're probably going to get an all-time high on him, I would imagine, or at least in a while. So he's already at $7 a share. The most expensive he's ever been, $767, which was last week. So I think we're going to get that back-to-back ATHs on Aaron Wise here.
Yeah, he's consistent. Like what we see with players like Aaron Wise that don't always get the outright wins, but have a level of consistency of finishing like 15th or better, whose average IPO is somewhere in this like roughly $6.50 to $7 range. Consistent, like easy money returns on your market. It looks like 6 of the last 8. If my eyes are serving me here correctly, he's returned you a little bit on the ROI in terms of what you paid for him in the IPO. 27.2 average is fantastic as well over the last 20 starts. Extremely consistent. If you want to sort of have a safe S&P 500 like big time stock, he's a solid one to feel comfortable investing in.
It's early, but Tony Finau not really experiencing much love. $6.42. He's the second pre-ranked golfer. He's behind Mav McNeely, and then there's kind of a big gap to everybody else, including Taylor Montgomery, Jason Day, Hideki Matsuyama. It's this tier here, Joe. The Finaus and the M's: Montgomery, McNeely, McCarthy, Matsuyama, Jason. Like that. I think someone will come out underpriced out of that group. We'll find out who it is in 20 minutes, but this is what I think the most interesting part of the market's going to be. Yeah,
we often see, you and I usually feel like Hideki is perennially underpriced, yet he hasn't been playing good at all. Right. Would you rather go with someone with like elite level upside like Hideki, top 20 player in the field, consistent year after year, or someone like Jason Day, who was really inconsistent for a while, but is coming in really solid, like current, most recent form?
I would prefer Jason Day. I mean, I would just prefer the guys who are in form. Like, yes, I understand Hideki has won the Masters and his upside is higher than just about everybody in this field, but I cannot in good conscience look at 7 losses in 8 starts. You look at the advanced metrics and he's not doing the things that he normally does well. And you could argue, well, Russell Henley was kind of off a little bit and then he goes out. Like, I get it. I just think that situation is more of an outlier than guy who has been playing well for 6 weeks continues to play well.
Totally agree. Yeah, what he's normally does well is absolutely be a ball striking wizard, which he's still doing okay, but he's really kind of lost it off the tee. He's not really picking up much in the way of distance. I have him ranked like in the bottom half of the field in terms of driving distance. So when you're not accurate and you're also not hitting it very far, that's going to be 2 things that set up to make this a pretty difficult task for you.
Okay, so let's flip this around and look at the pre-ranked golfers, the top 10. And this is important because, again, that's what breaks ties. And it shouldn't surprise me, but it does, that the cheapest top 10 golfer that you can get is the guy who won last week, Joe. Russell Henley, fresh off victory, is $4.25 a share, not barely 50% to his fair value of $8.34. Here we go again. Nobody wants to play the guy who was better than everybody last week.
There's a price for him for me. There always is, and I don't mind it. He has obviously had like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think our buddy Will Haskett had it as one of like the best first 3 days in terms of scoring ever on the PGA Tour. So completely dialed in. He's played very well in Texas before. I know that was kind of at a different golf course for the Houston Open, but good history here. Not as many wedges as I'd probably like to see out of Russell Henley that he probably had last week. Going to be coming in with a bit longer irons, but putted it well, great. His caddy has a lot of familiarity with this course as well, so I don't mind it. If you get the discount, I'll be happy to take it.
All right, let's continue down the path here. So pre-ranks from kind of 10 to 20. This is Alex Noren down to Matthew Neesmith, who's back in the field, baby. $3.01 per share at the moment. And a lot of savvy vets in here. Anybody else worth a mention kind of in this second tier of pre-ranked golfers?
I think Straka's been playing fantastic. We're back on Bermuda grass. You know, he had that great run to end last year and backed that up with a second at the Sanderson Farms earlier this season. You have to embrace a little bit of the volatility there, but certainly a player that rides the highs and lows and has been on an ascension, basically for a long time now in terms of climbing up the world golf rankings. So I can see him as a good value there if he sticks around in that $4 or low $5 range.
He can win on hard golf courses like he did at PGA National. Okay, let's continue down here. So Hadwin is 21. Rogers is 30. These golfers mostly trading in the $2, $3, and $4 range. The cream of the crop in this tier is Jason Day, who we've kind of chatted about a little bit. But you can also find Brenton Steele or Keith Mitchell. Is there anybody else here worth a note?
I kind of like Taylor Pendrith.
Yeah, that's
really good off the tee, right?
Yeah.
Driving distance is fantastic. Third and off the tee when I looked. Also really good in terms of being proficient on the par 3. So I have him second overall in the field in terms of par 3 scoring over the last 30 rounds or so, which is, there's 5 of them this week. I don't know that's kind of one of those potentially flawed stats, but I think it's something important to look at when, it's basically making up nearly a third of the golf holes that they're going to play this week, all at different yardages. He's good there. He's good off the tee. And I think that some experience at the President's Cup with a couple of decent starts in the fall could make him a decent value.
Yeah, might be another one of those guys who kind of breaks out immediately after an international team event. 31 to 40. So that's Matt Wallace down to Alex Smalley. All of these guys trading between $3 and $4 a share at the moment. There's some steam in kind of fantasy formats for Gary Woodland, who's currently $4 a share, Joe. Francesco Molinari played last week. He made the cut. It wasn't great, but he was there. Anybody in this range that you think you'll click the favorite button on and keep an eye on?
I've been kind of keeping an eye on Taylor Moore. He's been playing great. So I kind of had him pegged as Birdie Fest guy. And then he shows up at the Zozo and competes pretty well in a good field and not exactly necessarily a Birdie Fest there with a T12. Goes to the CJ Cup, which I didn't think was going to set up great for him either on a more difficult test. Top 23 there after a little bit of a fade Sunday. He's just had a lot of, these are his finishes so far this fall: 36th, 24th, miscut, 12th, 23rd. So if you're asking him to basically finish 35th, 40th or better, if you can get somewhere around that price point, I think that he makes it a good buy. And he's doing it all across. He's got a very well-rounded game. From Texas, grew up in Oklahoma, so he should have some sort of local ties to being familiar with the conditions and some of the winds that these guys may encounter this week.
About 15 more minutes until this IPO closes. The code you're looking for to get involved, that's POWER. There's a link in the description. We're going through the board here. Let's go 41 to 50 in the pre-rank. These guys trading as low as $2.89 up to $4.45 for Will Gordon, who's the 46th pre-ranked golfer. I think that's the obvious one in this range, Joe. He's clearly found something in his game. But there's always some appeal for Adam Svensson. There's always some appeal for Lee Hodges. Is there anybody besides Gordon that might catch your portfolio?
I'm going to watch Justin Lower. I don't know how do you feel about Lower? I mean, he's got a couple of top 10s so far this fall, so has a little bit of upside there. Will Gordon, like you mentioned, is sort of the obvious one, but I think he probably climbs well above where the price points of these other guys in this range are going to go for.
Hasn't missed a cut since the 3M Open. Played really well from the end of the Corn Ferry, start of the season through Bermuda. Actually, I think if I remember correctly, got off to a better start in Mayakoba than his finishing position, 56 would indicate. I think he played well through the first couple of rounds. So yeah, no worries going back there. No worries going back to Will Gordon at 46. Right. All good. Starts to get a little bit hairy now 51 to 60. That's Luke List to MJ Duffy. Boy. I mean, I actually like Bo. Bo's $3.91.
Yep.
And Steven Yeager has a fine little short game, $3.01. But I don't think I'm making many big investments here.
Yeah, you really have to kind of be careful. I didn't see a whole lot there that really had me too excited either, to be honest. But yeah, there's not a lot of risk in terms of, finishing dead last. You're still going to get that dollar back per share, but you got to be careful if you start getting too many guys and eating up too much of your bankroll in this range.
We'll do one more here as we get to the second page. So 61 to 70. Robbie Shelton is 61. It includes guys like Marty Dow, Carl Yuan, and we got to go to the second page to get down to 70, which would be Michael Gligic. David Lingmerth is $3.40 a share, Joe. He's coming off of 2 consecutive top 11 finishes. He's already over his fair value, but this is kind of one of the guys in the field where I legitimately have no idea what to expect.
Yeah, Lingmerth 389. I have a weird one for you that's kind of in this cheap range. So I was going through the tools on your site over the basically leaderboards in terms of ROI over the last 20 rounds. Okay. You know who's number one? Do you have any guess who's number one with the caveat of 20 starts? Weird.
It's I know Sepp Straka is up there.
He's up there. Okay, I'll tell you. It's Chesson Hadley.
Chesson,
which is weird, which kind of illustrates part of what makes sort of jock market fun. So he's $2.80 right now. He's the 82nd ranked pre-ranked golfer, but he's averaging 56.7% ROI. I ruled out those first. Obviously, Montgomery's the king right now, but it's hard to really, we need some more starts under the belt. But 260 average IPO, he's paying out almost 389. So he's been really, really solid over a long term. Obviously, no wins in there, but I don't know. Just kind of struck me, and he's still sitting below $3.
Yeah. So I've got it pulled up now if you're watching on YouTube. So in the last 20 cash markets, and these are guys who have actually played in 20 of them. There's a couple guys with small sample sizes. Chesson Hadley, number 1, 56% ROI. Sepp Straka, number 2, 52%. Andrew Putnam, number 3, 41%. Yeah. Kelly Craft, 39%. And then the top 5 rounds out with Davis Riley at 36%. ROI over 20 cash markets. It is interesting though. You keep going. It's like Matthew Neesmith is there, Brandon Wu. This is why jock market's great.
Yeah, Davis Riley's up there too. Dean Burmeister, who we haven't really spoken about, but has been very popular this week. He's going to rate out pretty much near the top of any stat model that you run. I don't know much about him, but you can see in 10 markets he's gone from $3.68 to $5.26. What's your take on Burmeister? You like him?
Yeah, I mean, he's played all over the world. He played well at the end of the Korn Ferry Tour season. He's played well in his PGA Tour starts this year. He drives it great, and he's like fairly competent in the short games, which those are things that are not always compatible with one another. When you hit it, those guys don't usually have the touch around the greens, but he does. So yeah, I like Burmy. Continue to roll him out there. Now, we'll go back to the top of the board here because this market maturing in a big way here, Joe. And Scotty Scheffler has snapped through the $10 mark. He's $10.34. It's just kind of a question of how close is he going to get to his fair value. And if he gets to his fair value, which would be $13.16, it would definitely be the most expensive he's ever been. And I could look it up. It might be one of the highest IPOs ever if we get him to $13.
I don't see him getting there. Do you? I mean, that's asking him to finish 6th or better to return you a profit. That seems like a very, very tall ask.
The most expensive IPO ever was $12.99. John Rahm at the Mexico Open when he was 3.5 to 1 and he won it. How about that? The most expensive IPO ever returned a profit.
Yeah, right. Doubled your money.
That's so sick. John Rahm, number 2, 1251 at Waste Management. And then, yeah, so we are getting towards one of the most expensive IPOs ever on Scotty. But I agree. This is kind of a different era. I think I don't think he'll get to $13, and I don't think he'll get to $12.99.
Yeah, I mean, the field's not all that bad. I don't think it's Mexico Open bad. I also don't think that he's like not in the middle of his tear that he was on. Like, he had a good round, he had a good performance. Is he totally back? It kind of remains to be seen, but he's certainly not in the form where he was blowing away fields in extreme, like, major type competition.
Tony Finau is separating himself from Sam Burns, which is kind of interesting. So Finau is $8.99, Burns is $8.02 at the moment, and then nobody else over $7.55, which is where we find Russell Henley. Finally, a little bit of love for Russell Henley here, but Finau carving out the number 2 spot in the jock market. There's not a lot of books that would necessarily agree with that, so we'll be interested to see kind of the way this shakes itself out.
Yeah, absolutely. It is kind of funny to see him up there. So Burns right behind him, almost $1 lagging behind. And then Aaron Wise, who's obviously up there in the betting markets, sub $8 right now at $7.45. So big differences there. Henley at $7.55. So we'll see how things kind of go over the next 7 minutes here or so. But yeah, not surprised to see Scotty. We'll see if Burns is able to track down Tony Finau in that number 2 spot.
Your guy, Denny McCarthy, lagging at the moment. $5.33. He's got the 8th pre-ranked. He is $2.50 off of his fair value. I know that when I unleash you in a couple of minutes, that gap is not going to stay there very long, because I'm sure Denny's one of you. Like if you're $2.50 below your fair value and it's Denny McCarthy, Joe's coming for you.
Yeah, I'm coming. Yeah. No, but look, he went for what I believe was his highest IPO ever, his last start out, and returned 67% ROI with the T6 at the Bermuda. This certainly isn't that field. The form is not what it was around the time of the U.S. Open in midsummer when he was, steadily cashing top 10s. But good course history here. If he can play well with his irons, you mentioned how this course can kind of lean on short game and putting as a differentiator within the field. That's certainly his strength.
All right, Joe, get after it.
All right, bud.
8:53 p.m. Eastern time by my clock. So we got about, 5-6 minutes or so until this IPO closes. Joe is going to go make his bids, and then we'll check in with him in a couple of minutes to see what ends up in his portfolio. And I'll take you the rest of the way. Let me refresh the big board. And while I do that, I'll remind you the code is POWER. That'll get you your $100 deposit bonus. You can go on Twitter and Instagram and Discord and find out what this week's challenges are to earn yourself some extra points. But it's a runaway at the top of tonight's jock market. Scotty Scheffler, $10.34. He is the most expensive golfer. He is very likely to end that way. It's just a matter of how high. The most expensive he's ever been, $11.22 at the RBC Canadian Open. There's a chance we get to, I think we could pass that. I think we could have a Scotty Scheffler all-time high. I'm not sure we're going to have a jock market all-time high, which is $12.99 a share. Tony Finau, $9.77. Also worth noting, if you don't buy this on Scotty, you can short him. Right. Like, so you could put a short out at $11. Right. He's at 1034. And if he gets to 11, that is going to activate. And then if he finishes worse than 10th place, you're making money. So if you're not a buyer of Scotty, you can be on the opposite side of this right now if you want to put a short in. Finau at 977, then Sam Burns at 875, and Russell Henley at 757. So that's a pretty significant gap from golfer 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and then they are lining up throughout for that. So it's Henley and Wise and McNeely. Then we've got Montgomery and Matsuyama, and just a lot of these names where you could argue a lot of them are the same, right? These guys that are like 20 to 30 to 1 in the outright market, and they've got little deficiencies, but they're playing well, or they've got good course history or anything like that. So it's worth noting that a lot of those guys are being treated generally the same. Here we go. Scotty Scheffler, 11-16. So he is now 6 cents short of his own all-time high. He's likely to beat that. Again, you can short this. If you think this is crazy, you can short this. I will tell you as a master shorter that it's always a great idea to get in the markets and short one of the best players in the field. I've learned that. So if you want to short it, that is available to you. Let me flip this around and show you the top 10 pre-ranked golfers. The cheapest top 10 golfer that you can get right now, Alex Noren, 540. Denny McCarthy still lagging, 552. $2.20 below his fair value. Denny McCarthy's coming off a T6 in Bermuda. Denny McCarthy finished T25 and returned you a profit at the Fortinet. Denny McCarthy played well at this event last year. What are we doing here? Are we not giving Denny the love he deserves? Let me try to refresh this. 5:56 p.m. Pacific, 8:56 p.m. Eastern. We've got a couple of minutes left in this market, and we've done it. Scotty Scheffler is now the most expensive he's ever been. $11.24 a share. That is asking Scotty to finish 9th or better. We've never seen a price on Scotty like this. Honestly, might be the shortest odds we've ever seen on him as well, right? 6-1 in this market, $11.24 a share. Okay, congratulations, Scotty. Tony Finau, 977. He's the second pre-ranked golfer. That's important here. 902 for Sam Burns, and then Aaron Wise at $8. Just to scroll down a little bit and find some of the other guys that we were talking about earlier, like Mac Hughes, $5.42. Someone I like this week, 18th on the pre-rank and $1 short of his fair value. Other golfers that we talked about, Sepp Straka, $5 a share. He's $1.50 short of his fair value tonight. Gary Woodland closing in on his own fair value. That's 30 cents shy of it. So we'll see if he can get there over the next minute or two. Let me give this a refresh. I want to make sure I've got the most up-to-date data because we are in kind of historic territory here, especially with Scotty at the top. Is he going to chase down $12.99 John Rahm? Well, not quite yet. He's stalled out a bit, $11.24 per share. As noted, the most so $11.24 is like the 15th or 20th most expensive IPO we've ever seen. If he can get to $12, he puts himself in the top half dozen or so. We'll see if Scotty can break through that mark, $11.24 at the moment. A little bit of a move on Mav McNeely. He's now up over $7 a share. He's 70 cents away from his fair value. He's $7.20. And there's that move that we were waiting to see on Keith Mitchell. He's over $5.50, which is his fair value. He's at $5.83. And Taylor Pendrith, similar price, but under his fair value. So a little bit of, opposing thought processes there for those two golfers. I've got it at 8:58. So we've got about a minute, maybe two left until this IPO closes. Well, I got 8:59 now. So we're going to keep a close eye on whether this IPO is open, and we might be tapped out on Scotty Scheffler because he has not moved now in a few minutes. 11.24 might be everything that we squeeze out of him, but the market continues to move. Tony Finau at 9.77, Sam Burns at 9.02. Those are putting a gap between themselves and the rest of the field. Aaron Wise, a very clear fourth here at 8.22, and everybody else behind. We are still open as of right now. We've got probably seconds to go, moments to go until this closes. If you want to be the hero that gives us a $13 Scotty Scheffler, go for. Oh, I think we're closed, Joe.
Yes.
Yeah, I went for the refresh and I didn't get it. So IPO is closed.
Shut it down.
Shut it on down. IPO is closed. We are going to let the dust settle. We're going to find out how high Scotty Scheffler actually got, but he broke his own all-time high, Joe.
Yeah. We'll see. So I'm going to see if it comes over. I had a short out there on Scotty Scheffler at 11.25. He was stuck on 11.24. I don't know if it got there.
I don't think it did. 11.24.
It did not.
There you go. 11.24. So here's what we'll do. Throw us in the chat your portfolio, who you ended up with. And Joe, I'd like to know who you ended up with, please.
Yes. Okay. Sammy Burns. $9.03 for Sam Burns. That's going to basically mean he's got to finish like 15th or better.
Wow, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's because his fair value was 13th or better. Or
yes,
position. Yeah.
Denny, I did get some Jenny shares at $6 even. Taylor Montgomery at 681. Dean Burmeister 576. Davis Riley 557. Taylor Moore, who I spoke about, and then a couple of shares down at $3.30 on Trey Mullinex.
Okay.
Missed out on both my shorts there.
So Sam Burns, Denny McCarthy, Taylor Montgomery, Dean Burmeister, Davis Riley, Taylor Moore, Trey Mullinax. Before we even look at this, I think that McCarthy shares, those shares are going to be my favorite ones.
Love to hear when you're on Team Denny for the week.
All right. So Scotty Scheffler, 1124. Most expensive he's ever been by 2 cents. That puts it about, so 1124 is here, which is what, like the 20th or so most expensive IPO ever. And only a handful of golfers named Rahm, Simpson, Cantlay, Justin Thomas, and Rory McIlroy have been higher. So the uncharted territory, very well done for Scotty.
Yeah, it's, a lot of red there when you sort of pull up that graph. It's tough because, you can really, at that point, you're close to only being able to 2x your money on a Scotty Scheffler victory, which I realize he's 6-1 this week for a reason. At the same token, you're risking going from $11 to $1. Should something happen and he misses the cut, I don't foresee that, but just a lot more potential downside than there is upside when you start to get in that mid $11, $12 range.
Next up, we kind of already alluded to it. Tony Finau, 977. Sam Burns, 903. No real surprises there. Aaron Wise in a tier of his own. We got a run on Russell, 758. Yeah. He didn't get to his fair value, and 758 is going to ask him to finish like 20th, 19th or so or better. That's I would take that on Russell Henley right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. So we did get that run on him. I wasn't necessarily expecting it. Like, I wasn't expecting him to necessarily outpace Hideki, McNeely, Montgomery this week, some of the more bigger popular names, but clearly people are giving him enough credit for the win last week that he can carry over a little bit of form into Texas.
Hideki, 710. Yeah, I mean, here's Denny, right? $6 a share, $1.60 short of his fair value. He's the 8th pre-ranked golfer. There are only 7 guys who break a tie, and at $6 a share, that's 28th or better.
28th or better, right?
I love it. Right?
Denny week.
I think I love it. Yeah, like all good, no problem with that whatsoever. What else do we have here? Talked Sahith. He got close to his fair value, went for $6.33 a share. I guess I should turn this around this way. Whoops. This way. Let's see. Pendrith got close to his fair value.
Yep.
Straka,
Jason,
not really.
Jason Day there at 633, which would be his, as I'm sort of looking here, his highest IPO in quite a while. It looks like in maybe the last 20 events since Pebble Beach, where he always plays well. So obviously the rebound is being noticed.
The rebound is indeed being noticed. Let's see what the chat got. Snoopaloop got Denny. There you go. Taylor Moore and Tyler Duncan. Brett got, everybody's got Denny. Denny, Sammy Burns, Taylor Pendrith. Brent got Day, Mitchell, English, Straka, Wallace, Fratelli, Marty D, Bobby Streps, Robert Strep, Davis Thompson, Austin Cook, and a few of Kelly Craft. Wow. So a lot of it'd be a nice community Denny win week. How about one of those?
I'd love it, man. I'm here for it. I'm always here for Denny week. We'll see if he can put the lights out. Like one of these weeks when he puts the lights out, he's just like gain a stroke on approach, maybe one off the tee, and we'll get there. We'll get home one of these weeks.
Next week is the RSM Classic, which actually I'll be doing the show from there, Joe. We have not,
great.
We have not talked about that. So I will be somewhere on Wednesday night in Georgia on Sea Island doing the show.
Very cool. Sea Island is an awesome place. I hope that you're going there with the First Cut guys?
No, this is mostly with RSM. I've got some great friends at RSM, and
cool.
Do a little work, little pleasure. Yeah.
Nice. Well, enjoy it. I hope the weather is fantastic for you, and it should be a good time. Looking forward to Power Hour live on site from old Sea Island, Jekyll Island area. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be great. So again, if you're getting involved, Power is the code you want. There's a link in the description. Joe is available on Twitter at TorPicks, and you can find me at RickRunGood. Very fun. We'll check in with you next week for the RSM Classic. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.